Notice who everyone's watching in any conversation. The loudest voice, the person with an opinion on everything, the one making sure you know exactly how intelligent he is, how much he's read, how deeply he's thought about this. Now notice who's saying nothing. That's the one you should be watching. Not because he's necessarily smarter, though he might be. Not because he's planning something sinister, though he could be. But because while everyone else is performing, competing for attention through verbal display, he's engaged in a completely different activity. He's collecting. Every confident assertion someone makes reveals what they think they know. Every story reveals what they value. Every joke reveals what they fear. Every interruption reveals what threatens them. And the silent man absorbs all of it without giving anything back. You think he's passive, disengaged, maybe intimidated by all the confident voices filling the space. You're wrong. And that misunderstanding is precisely what makes him dangerous. Because you're playing checkers, trying to win the immediate conversation, and he's playing chess, building a model of every person in the room, their weaknesses, their tells, their pressure points, and you're handing him the pieces. The silent man isn't waiting for his turn to speak. He's waiting for the perfect moment to act, and he knows when that moment is, because he's been watching while you've been talking. Lao Tzu understood this 2,500 years ago. Machiavelli understood it 500 years ago, and once you understand it, you'll never mistake silence for weakness again. Let me show you exactly how saying nothing becomes the most powerful position in any room. Start with what silence actually does in conversation. Not what we think it does, what it actually accomplishes. Most people experience silence as absence. The absence of contribution, the absence of engagement, the absence of value being added. This is why we're taught to speak up, to share our thoughts, to make sure we're heard. But silence isn't absence. Silence is extraction. Every conversation is an exchange of information. When you speak, you give. When you listen, you receive. Simple math. If you're speaking half the time, you're giving away half your information while receiving half of theirs. Even trade. But the silent man isn't trading. He's receiving without giving. Pure extraction. He learns everyone's position while revealing nothing of his own. This creates information asymmetry. And information asymmetry is power. Watch how this plays out in real time. Someone asks a question in a meeting. 3 people immediately jump in with answers, competing to demonstrate their knowledge. They reveal what they know, what they don't know, what they're insecure about, who they're trying to impress. The silent man notes all of it. Who spoke first, the most eager to prove themselves. Who waited to hear others before speaking, the strategic ones. Who spoke with certainty, the overconfident. Who hedged, the cautious. Who looked to leadership before answering, the political. One question, 5 minutes of people talking, and the silent man just built a psychological map of everyone's operating system. Cost to him? Nothing. He gave up no information about his own knowledge, his own position, his own strategy. He just collected theirs. Now multiply this across hours, days, weeks of interactions. The silent man accumulates a massive information advantage. He knows how everyone thinks, what moves them, what threatens them, what they want, and they know almost nothing about him. This asymmetry means he can predict them. They can't predict him. He can influence them. They can't influence him. He can outmaneuver them. They never see it coming. Not because he's playing a different game, because he's playing the actual game while they're playing the performance of the game. Here's what nobody tells you about talking. Every word you speak is a tell. Poker players understand tells, involuntary signals that reveal information about your hand. Good players eliminate tells. Great players manufacture false tells to mislead. But in conversation, most people are hemorrhaging tells constantly and calling it being articulate. You share an opinion, tells me what you value. You tell a story, tells me what you want others to think about you. You make a joke, tells me what you're insecure about. You interrupt, tells me what threatens your status. You agree too quickly, tells me you need approval. The silent man reads all of this, not because he's analyzing consciously, because he's present, fully. While you're formulating your next comment, preparing your clever response, he's actually absorbing what's being said and what it reveals. Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." Most people misread this as anti-intellectual posturing. Smart people are quiet. Dumb people are loud. That's not it at all. It's about the relationship between knowledge and the need for validation. When you truly know something, you don't need others to confirm it. The knowledge is complete in itself. It doesn't require audience. It doesn't require acknowledgement. It simply is. But when you're uncertain, when your understanding is incomplete, when you're trying to convince yourself as much as others, you need to speak it aloud. You need to hear it said. You need to see others nod. The speech isn't about informing. It's about validating. The talker needs external confirmation. Every speech act is a bid for validation. Let me tell you what I think translates to, "Please confirm I'm valuable." This need is a lever, and the levers can be pulled. Flatter the talker, and he gives you more. Insult him, and he reveals his insecurities defending himself. Pressure him socially, and he conforms. He has handles all over him, built from his need for validation through speech. The silent man has no such need. His knowledge, whatever it is complete internally. Doesn't require your agreement. Doesn't need your acknowledgement. Just is. This means he has no handles. You can't flatter him into revealing more because he's not performing for approval. You can't provoke him into defending because he's not seeking validation. You can't pressure him because he's not playing the status game you're playing. You can't move what you can't grip. And this absence of manipulability is terrifying to people who are used to reading and influencing others through their verbal patterns. The silent man is a black box. Inputs go in. Nothing comes out. You have no idea what's happening inside. That unknown is what creates fear. Machiavelli understood this viscerally. In The Prince, he wrote that it is better to be feared than loved. Not because fear is inherently superior, but because love is fickle and fear is reliable. People fear what they don't understand, and silence creates incomprehension. The talker is understood. His patterns are clear. His reactions predictable. You know what threatens him, what pleases him, what moves him. He's a known quantity. The silent man is unknown. You don't know what he's thinking, what he's planning, when he'll act, what will trigger him. He's pure uncertainty. And humans are built to fear uncertainty more than known threats. This is why the silent man commands a different quality of attention than the talker. The talker gets superficial attention. People track what he's saying to prepare their response. The silent man gets deep attention. People watch him trying to read any signal, any hint of what's happening behind the silence. The talker works for attention. The silent man receives it without asking. Now let's talk about what happens in that silence. The mechanisms operating beneath the surface that most people never consciously register. First mechanism, the vacuum effect. Nature abhors a vacuum. Humans abhor conversational vacuums even more. When someone doesn't respond to what you've said, discomfort builds. This discomfort has a name in psychology: conversational anxiety. And the natural human response is to fill that anxiety with more speech. You say something. The silent man doesn't respond. The silence extends. You become uncomfortable. So you elaborate, add more detail, explain your reasoning, justify your position. You just revealed far more than you intended. And he didn't ask a single question. Interrogators know this technique intimately. Ask a question, then shut up completely. The suspect answers, then silence. The suspect, uncomfortable with the hanging silence, keeps talking, elaborates, provides details nobody asked for, reveals connections nobody knew about. The pressure of silence extracts information that direct questioning never could. The silent man uses this everywhere. In negotiations, he makes his position clear, then goes silent. The other party, unable to tolerate the uncertainty, starts talking, reveals their bottom line, their timeline, their desperation. All information he can now use to optimize his position. In social settings, someone states an opinion. The silent man doesn't agree or disagree, just listens. The person, unsure how they're being received, keeps talking, justifies, provides more examples, exposes their reasoning process, their values, their insecurities. The silent man learns what's really driving the opinion. Not the surface justification, the underlying psychology. That's actionable intelligence. And it cost him nothing but patience. Second mechanism, the projection screen. When someone is silent, you don't see them clearly. You see what you project onto the silence. If you're insecure about your intelligence, you assume the silent man doesn't understand. So you explain things more simply, talk down, over-clarify. You've just revealed your insecurity and your assessment of the pecking order. If you're paranoid about people's loyalty, you assume the silent man is plotting against you. So you become defensive, accusatory, probing. You've just revealed your fear and shown exactly what questions make you uncomfortable. If you need dominance, you assume the silent man is intimidated. So you become more aggressive, more dismissive. You've just revealed what you use to feel powerful and shown that you need others to be weak to feel strong. Every projection tells the silent man something about your psychology, and he didn't have to ask. You volunteered it through your interpretation of his silence. This is extraordinarily efficient intelligence gathering. He presents a blank screen. You paint your own psychology on it, then wonder why he seems to understand you so well. Third mechanism, delayed action. Talkers react in real time. Someone says something stupid, they correct immediately. Someone challenges them, they defend instantly. This real-time reaction has a cost. It gives the opponent time to adjust, to defend, to minimize damage. The silent man doesn't react in real time. He notes, compiles, waits. Someone makes a small error in a meeting. Everyone notices. The talker jumps in. Actually, that's not quite accurate. Small correction. Person defends. Everyone moves on. Minimal impact. The silent man notes the error, says nothing. Next meeting, same person makes a related error. The silent man notes it, still says nothing. Third meeting, in front of senior leadership, during a critical presentation, the silent man speaks for the first time. I've noticed a pattern over the past month, and presents the compiled evidence of incompetence. The impact is devastating. The person can't defend 3 incidents simultaneously. The pattern reveals not a mistake, but a deficiency. And the timing, in front of leadership, during a critical moment, ensures maximum damage with no recovery. This is what patience as a weapon looks like. The talker gets small wins in the moment. The silent man engineers total victories on his timeline. Timing is everything in confrontation. And you only control timing if you're not reacting in the moment. The silent man chooses when to act. The talker is always reacting to when others act. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the importance of appearing one thing while being another. The silent man masters this completely. In The Prince, chapter 18, Machiavelli discusses how princes must know when to keep faith and when to break it. But there's something better than strategic promise breaking. Never making promises in the first place. The talker commits verbally to positions constantly. I think we should do X. Now he's locked in. If he changes his mind later, he looks inconsistent or weak. If new information emerges that makes X stupid, he has to either defend the indefensible or admit he was wrong. The silent man commits to nothing verbally. When X proves bad, he can advocate for Y without any contradiction. He was never on record supporting X. He has perfect flexibility. This is Lao Tzu's principle about the soft overcoming the hard. The talker is rigid, bound by his stated positions. The silent man is supple, free to move in any direction without contradiction. Rigidity breaks under pressure. Flexibility survives. Machiavelli also wrote that men ought either to be well treated or crushed. Half measures create enemies who can retaliate. Most people violate this constantly through speech. The talker creates many small enemies. Casual insults, critiques in meetings, disagreements stated bluntly. Each one a minor injury that the recipient doesn't forget. Accumulate enough and you're surrounded by people waiting for opportunity to retaliate. The silent man creates no enemies through speech. He says nothing offensive, makes no casual critiques, expresses no dismissive judgments. When he must strike, when someone genuinely threatens his interests, he does so completely, not a verbal jab, a compiled case, not a momentary embarrassment, a permanent reputation damage. One crushing blow instead of 1,000 minor cuts. Far more efficient, far more effective, and fewer people motivated to retaliate. Machiavelli's final relevant insight: everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The talker makes his reality transparent. You know exactly what he thinks, what he values, what he fears. No mystery, no projection needed. He's told you everything. The silent man reveals nothing accurate. You're forced to guess. And in your guessing, you reveal yourself through the projection screen mechanism, while learning nothing true about him. He controls the narrative through opacity. You can't counter a position you don't know exists. You can't exploit a weakness you haven't identified. You can't predict a person whose patterns you haven't seen. The talker is an open book, easy to read, easy to predict, easy to counter. The silent man is a locked vault, and people fear what they can't open. Let me show you what this looks like in practice across different contexts. In business negotiations, the dynamic is stark. You're negotiating a deal. The other party makes their opening position clear through extensive explanation. They want X, they need Y. They're willing to accept Z. They've shown you their entire hand. The silent man responds, nothing. Just listens, maybe nods slightly. Doesn't confirm anything. Doesn't challenge anything. Just receives. The other party, uncomfortable with the silence, starts talking more. Of course, we're flexible on these points. They're negotiating against themselves. The silent man hasn't revealed his position, his limits, his timeline. They're guessing, and in their guessing, They're giving him everything he needs to know. When he finally makes his counteroffer, it's precisely calibrated to what they've revealed, not based on what they wanted him to know, based on what they accidentally told him through their discomfort with silence. In social hierarchies, watch what happens. A room full of people competing verbally for status, louder voices, stronger opinions, dominance through speech. The silent man doesn't compete, doesn't try to talk over anyone, doesn't assert dominance through volume. But when he does speak, once, maybe twice in an hour, the room goes quiet, not because he's loud, because his words are scarce. And scarcity creates value. The talker's words are abundant. He speaks constantly. His words are cheap. When he talks, people half listen while preparing their own comments. The silent man's words are rare. When he speaks, people actually listen, because they know he doesn't waste words. If he's speaking, it matters. He's achieved higher status through strategic scarcity than the talkers achieved through constant performance, and he expended far less energy doing it. In conflicts, the contrast is even sharper. Someone's aggressive, confrontational, trying to provoke a reaction. The typical response is to match energy, get defensive, argue back, escalate. The silent man responds, nothing, just maintains eye contact, calm, present, completely unaffected. The aggressor escalates further, trying to provoke reaction, still nothing. Eventually, the aggressor exhausts themselves. They're fighting someone who won't engage. They look foolish, yelling at a statue. And the silent man won without throwing a single verbal punch. Lao Tzu. The sage does not compete, therefore no one can compete with him. You can't beat someone at a game they're not playing. Now I need to address the obvious. The silent man doesn't stay silent forever. That would be autism, not strategy. The question is when to speak and how to maximize impact when you do. First principle. Speak only when words add value that silence can't. Don't speak to fill space. Don't speak to prove you're paying attention. Don't speak to demonstrate intelligence. These are all low-value uses of speech that reveal more than they accomplish. Speak when you have information others lack, when you have a decision that needs communicating, when you have a question that will extract information you need. These are high-value uses. The talker speaks constantly for low-value reasons. The silent man speaks rarely for high-value reasons. The impact per word is radically different. Second principle, let everyone else exhaust themselves first. Most meetings, most conversations follow a predictable pattern. Initial burst of energy. Everyone with an opinion shares it. Lots of heat, varying amounts of light. Eventually people run out of things to say. Energy declines. This is when the silent man speaks, when everyone else is exhausted, when they've revealed their positions, when they're actually ready to listen instead of just waiting to talk. Fresh perspective after everyone else has worn themselves out. Maximum attention, minimum competition for airtime. The talker fights for attention when competition is highest. The silent man receives attention when competition is lowest. Efficiency. Third principle, precision over volume. When you speak rarely, you can afford to craft what you say carefully. Choose words precisely. Remove filler. Eliminate hedging. The talker uses 100 words to say what 10 could, because he's speaking in real time, reacting, filling space. The silent man uses 10 words. Dense. Efficient. Each word chosen for maximum impact. Compare. I think we should probably consider maybe looking at alternative approaches, because this one seems like it might have some issues that could potentially cause problems down the line. versus this approach will fail. Here's why. Here's what works instead. Same information, radically different impact. The first sounds uncertain, seeking approval. The second sounds decisive, commanding. The talker can't achieve precision because he's always talking. The silent man can because he's not. Fourth principle, speak to close, not to continue. The talker speaks to start discussions, to invite debate, to engage others. This extends conversations, creates more back and forth, generates heat. The silent man speaks to end discussions, to make decisions final, to close topics. I've heard enough. Here's what we're doing. Not an invitation to debate, a statement of decision. Conversation over. The room recognizes finality. He's spoken. Discussion closed. Move forward. This is what authority sounds like. Not from title or position, from the weight of words carefully spent. You can develop this capacity. It's not innate, it's cultivated. Start with comfort in silence. Most people are profoundly uncomfortable when conversation lapses. They feel compelled to fill every gap. This compulsion is a weakness you need to eliminate. Practice sitting in conversation while silence extends. Notice the discomfort. Don't act on it. Let it exist. Watch others rush to fill it. Learn what silence extracts. Eventually, the discomfort fades. Silence becomes neutral space instead of void needing filling. That's when you can weaponize it. Second, control ego. The urge to speak usually comes from ego. Wanting to be seen as smart, informed, valuable. Needing validation through verbal performance. This need is the enemy. Every time you feel the urge to speak, ask, am I adding value or seeking validation? If seeking validation, stay silent. Let the need pass. It will. And you'll gain information instead of giving it. Third, develop observational capacity. Most people don't actually listen. They wait to talk. Their attention is internal, on what they'll say next, not external on what's being said. Practice actually listening, full attention on the speaker, not formulating response, just absorbing. You'll be shocked how much you miss when you're preparing to speak. Fourth, patience. The delayed strike requires patience most people don't have. They want immediate satisfaction, immediate reaction, immediate outcome. Cultivate capacity for delayed gratification. Note something worth responding to. Don't respond. Wait. The perfect moment will come. It might be in an hour, might be in a month. Trust the process. Fifth, internal completeness. This is the hardest. You need to develop self-sufficiency to the point where external validation becomes unnecessary. Your knowledge doesn't need confirmation. Your value doesn't need acknowledgement. Your position doesn't need defending. This comes from genuine competence plus genuine self-awareness. Know what you know. Know what you don't. Be comfortable with both. Need nothing from others. When you reach this state, silence becomes natural, not forced, not strategic performance, just the default because speech serves no need. That's when you've become actually dangerous, because you're not playing a role. You're operating from genuine position of strength. But here's the warning nobody gives. Strategic silence is not muteness. Some people hear this and think, never speak. That's the opposite problem. That's avoidance, not strategy. That's fear dressed as tactics. The silent man speaks, just strategically, rarely, precisely. The ratio matters. Most people are probably 80% speech, 20% observation. Inverse that. 80% observation, 20% speech. That inversion inverts the power dynamic. Also understand, this makes you uncomfortable to be around for many people. Those who need constant validation through conversation will find you unsettling. Those who fill silence compulsively will find you anxiety-inducing. Those who mistake quietness for weakness will underestimate you, which is useful, but then become resentful when proven wrong. You will lose some social connections. The connections based on constant light chatter, mutual validation, comfortable pattern matching. These relationships require verbal performance you're no longer providing. What you gain are different connections. People who value substance over performance, who appreciate precision over volume, who respect the strength to be silent. Smaller circle, higher quality. That's the trade. And finally, this is not about being mysterious for mystery's sake. This is not about creating an aesthetic. This is about operating effectively in competitive environments. Because whether you acknowledge it or not, most social and professional environments are competitive. Resources are limited. Positions are scarce. Information is valuable. In competitive environments, information asymmetry is advantage. The person who knows more while revealing less has leverage. That's not manipulation. That's reality. The talker gives away advantage constantly. The silent man accumulates it continuously. Over time, the gap becomes insurmountable. And when it matters, when actual stakes are on the table, the silent man wins. Not because he's smarter or more talented, because he's been gathering intelligence while everyone else was performing. Lao Tzu wrote, "True words are not eloquent. Eloquent words are not true. Eloquence is often camouflage for insecurity, complexity hiding simplicity, performance obscuring substance. Truth is simple, doesn't need elaborate delivery, can be stated plainly, often is better stated plainly. The silent man, when he speaks, speaks plainly. No elaborate rhetoric, no impressive vocabulary deployed for effect, just clear statements of what is. This plainness carries more weight than any eloquence because it's obviously not performance. It's transmission of information. Nothing more, nothing less. The room recognizes this, differentiates it from the verbal performances happening constantly, and gives it different weight accordingly. Pay attention next time you're in a room full of people. Notice who talks most. Notice who talks least. Watch the talkers compete. Watch them reveal. Watch them seek validation through speech. Watch them create enemies through casual verbal injuries. Watch them lock themselves into positions. Watch them give away information freely. Then watch the silent one, if there is one. Notice what he's doing, not participating in the verbal competition, observing, learning, waiting. Notice how others relate to him differently. Some ignore him, mistake for weakness. Some watch him, recognize the danger. Some try to draw him out, uncomfortable with the unknown. Notice when he finally speaks, how the room shifts, how people actually listen instead of waiting to talk, how his words carry weight the talker's words don't. That's not charisma. That's scarcity. That's patience. That's strategy. And you can do it. Starting now. Starting with the next conversation you're in. Say less. Observe more. Let silences extend. Let others fill them. Watch what they reveal when uncomfortable. Compile the information. Wait for the perfect moment. When you speak, make it count. Precision, clarity, finality. Then return to silence. The talkers will keep talking, revealing, exposing themselves, handing you everything you need to know. And you'll sit there quiet, learning, growing more dangerous by the minute, because the man who says nothing is the most dangerous in the room. Not because he's plotting, because he's learning. And information is the only weapon that never misses.